collision with purpose, in pursuit of purpose.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the A Collision with Purpose project Under the Spotlight. Here, individuals are given the opportunity to explore self in pursuit of their purpose. I am Dr. Laxley Stephenson, and I'm your host. The A Collision with Purpose project allows individuals to pause, take a quiet moment, be introspective, and engage self-reflection in pursuing their purpose to unleash possibilities with far-reaching implications for self and others. Today, the A Collision with Purpose project spotlight is on Mr. Arthur Hines. Mr. Hines is a husband, a father, an educator, a caregiver, a real estate agent, professional, a business owner, and an advocate for social change. Let us welcome Mr. Arthur Hines to the A Collision with Purpose project on the Spotlight. Mr. Hines, it is indeed my pleasure to welcome you to the A Collision with Purpose project. I am looking forward to having an engaging, insightful, and interactive conversation with you about a topic which I believe is arguably one of the most consequential concepts informing how we function as individuals and ultimately how we perceive our legacy.
Thank you, my brother. I just am proud to have the opportunity to speak with you, and talking about purpose is something that I really do appreciate having the opportunity to indulge in. And of course, we all have a purpose, I believe. I believe God brought us here to this earth to fulfill his purpose. And I believe that our purpose, therefore, is a manifestation of the purpose that he has for our lives. So I believe it is our responsibility to seek our purpose, and we do that through prayer. The Bible teaches us that if we seek, we shall find. And since our purpose is intimately tied to the lives of other people that we bring service to, I think it's critical that we succeed in finding our purpose. Now, God has people out there just waiting for us to step up to the plate and deliver the needed services that they have and that we carry in our purpose. Now, I think it's very important that we seek our purpose and that we seek to deliver our purpose, because otherwise, if we don't, we are creating a void in the lives of people who are just sitting out there waiting for us to do what we're designed to do. So never stop seeking. I believe personally that God purposed me to bring joy and quality of life to people who otherwise would be suffering. Now, that's just one purpose. So my heart is inclined to care for the elderly. I get great joy out of delivering quality of life and to help to make them happy. Now, I spent over 10 years working in an environment where I owned and operated an assisted living facility, and it just amazed me how much joy could be brought to people just by me stepping up and living in my purpose. Now, I would like to give you a personal example, for example. This particular example has to do with my life. My mother has 10 children. And she spent all of her young adult life taking care of children. There were many instances where, her young friends would want her to go out and do. She said, "Oh no, I can't do that. I have to stay here and take care of my children." So she didn't cut any corners on that. She was very diligent about it. Now, I was kind of a sickly young man, and I had boils on my leg, and she would take me to the doctor, and the doctor didn't know exactly how to treat it. He would give me penicillin shots, and they would go away, but they would come right back. Now, after doing that a number of times, getting the same results, she got scared. And she told me, she said, "Arthur, I'm just so scared. I don't know what is the matter with you. But I'll tell you one thing," she told me, "I will never leave you alone." Now, little did I know that those very words tapped into what I believe to be one of my purposes in life. Now, the way it manifested itself is when my mother got older. This was over 70 years. It was over 60 years after she spoke those words to me. She was 90 years old. Now, I started to take care of her. And it gave me great joy to be there with her, to see her laugh and have a good quality of life. And she just thoroughly enjoyed me taking care of her. Now, what happened is that her last day of life, we had a wonderful time. We did everything that she likes to do. We went to the places she likes to go. We came back. She sat in a chair to rest for a while. And she did. She went to sleep. And she just never woke up. Now, the reason I mention that is that when my mother had told me, "I will never leave you alone," some 50, 60 years ago, I thought in my heart at that time, "And Ma, I will never leave you alone." I never told her that, but I thought that. I will never leave you alone. But the reason why I know that that was part of my purpose for being here, the day that she drew her last breath, I hadn't thought about that conversation with her in so many years. It came to my presence that, "Ma, you promised me that you would never leave me alone, and I promise you that I will never leave you alone. A promise made is a promise kept." So that just ties into the fact that I believe God has a purpose for us all. He taps us into what we need to do and how we need to do it. Now, I believe that we actually have more than one purpose. So I would call it multi-purpose, because when we stay attuned to do God's will, I believe we'll find that there's going to be more than one thing that He has cut out for us to do. So my goal is to stay attuned, continuously seek God's purpose for my life, keep my heart inclined toward His will, and follow through on whatever it is that He would have me to do. So not only will that fulfill his purpose, that will bring fulfillment to me and the quality of my life here on earth. So that's my belief. And I thank you very much for the opportunity to speak it.
Well, and I appreciate that. You know, when we conceived this idea about a Collision with Purpose project, I thought about you. And having done many things, you know, working with you in different capacities, I knew that you were the person that could really articulate your purpose based on experience and based upon acting on it. So you saying that a promise made, a promise kept is so appropriate. So I thank you for that, Mr. Hines. So understanding what one's purpose is, as important as that is, and being able to articulate what one's purpose is, for those individuals who have yet to discover their purpose, what would you suggest to them? How can you help guide them in that direction for them to realize what you clearly have?
I would suggest that they do what I do. Constantly seeks God's will for your life. And the way you do that is you do it through prayer. Have it constantly present in your mind. God, what is your will for my life? You seek and you shall find. And not only do you just seek at one time, you just keep seeking and you will keep finding. That's what I believe.
Seek and you shall find.
Yeah.
So you shared with us the real situation with your moms and the experiences you had there and the discovery you made about your purpose through that experience and the commitment that you made. So how does that play into how you build relationships and form relationships with others? And I know you're a caregiver. Did that help you in positioning yourself to continue to want to be a caregiver?
Oh, absolutely. During the time when I was operating an assisted living facility, I always enjoy sitting down, conversing with the elderly. And that's who we were caring for, the elderly. And I had this one consumer who came to Atlanta from West Virginia. And I was sitting talking with her and just having a good old conversation. And she just happened to mention to me that, you know, I've never been to the beach in my life. I said, what? I said, you mean you've never been to the beach in your life? And she was 80-some years old. She said, no, I've never been to the beach in my life. I'm from West Virginia and we don't have beaches. I said, well, I tell you what, I guarantee you will be going to the beach. And as a result of that guarantee, that allowed me to initiate a vacation program, not just for her, but for the entire facility, all of the consumers and all of the staff. And out of that came a wonderful, wonderful experiences because we got all of the family members of the consumers involved. And we let them know that every year we're going to be going on vacation, save your money. And it just got to be a tradition that everybody enjoyed. The consumers enjoyed it. The family members enjoyed it, knowing that they're having a quality experience. We thoroughly enjoyed it. So it was just a wonderful thing.
And I guess that, you know, often you hear the comment or the phrase living on purpose and aligning your life with your purpose, oneself with their purpose. And as a caregiver, being that one of your purpose, you're clearly in alignment through your behavior, your actions, and how you go about living your life. And again, in informing our audience, what would you say to individuals who are struggling with this concept of purpose? How do they align self with purpose? Any recommendations?
Well, the way I do it is I know that ultimately our purpose here is tied into God's purpose for our lives. That's what I believe. So in order for me to thoroughly understand what my purpose is, then I believe that the shortest cut for me to do that, instead of just trying to figure it out on my own, I go directly to the source. And I ask, what would you have me to do? And God is ever present, but he's not going to bring his hands down and heal somebody as far as giving them quality life or taking them places. He's going to put his people to do that job. So I consider myself a vessel to physically act on his behalf. So he's the creator, he makes things happen, but at the same time, he does it through his people. So I position myself to be one of his vessels.
I see. And in your life and your experiences, you've been doing just that. In your circle of friends, do you find that a discussion about purpose is a common thing?
Well, very rarely do we speak in those deliberate terms of purpose. But I think as we converse and as we deal with topics that are related to purpose, I believe that most of the friends that I deal with has purpose ever present in their mind, even though we don't deliberately speak about purpose as we are today. I believe that purpose is an ever-present existence with most of my friends.
So do you believe that it is important that we speak about it, that we'll do it in an active way?
Oh, absolutely. I think if we did that, we would be more deliberate in the way we live our lives. We would be more proactive in what we do in behalf of our service to others. I think we will have fewer missed opportunities that our purpose has for us, but sometimes we may miss the mark. But I think if we spoke about it in a deliberate way, I think we'll keep our mind and eyes and consciousness open to it. And I think we'll be more proactive in finding purposes that we are suited to fulfill.
And I like that you said purposes, because indeed, it's not just one purpose that we serve. There are many purposes.
Yes.
So I'm very pleased that you again highlighted that point. You're an educator, and you will always be an educator. So do you believe that topic, purpose, is grounded in our systems in schools?
Well, not enough. I think that could be a feature that would greatly enhance the students. When purpose is spoken in a very deliberate way, awareness is brought to the student as to what purpose is, how purpose works, how purpose can be used in their lives, the impact of their actively, consciously using their purpose to affect the lives of others. I think it would be very productive in a classroom.
And very productive, yes, and especially in their formative early age, in early life when they're, formulating and developing self. And to have purpose will make them so much more efficient in their thoughts and in their career choices. So, but I'm also thinking that for us so-called grown-ups, it is also a conversation that should be more prominent, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I think just due to the fact that we're deliberately speaking of purpose, talking about the different nuances of how purpose work in people's lives, I think that would bring a greater awareness to students who just think, well, I guess it'll come into my consciousness at some point, but right now, I don't know what my purpose is. I just live from day to day. And I know I like, maybe to do something to make some money or get those nice Jordan tennis shoes. But as far as digging deep and finding out my purpose, now I don't even think about that. That's what I believe. That's the way most students think. But I think if we as adults found a deliberate way to impact that kind of thinking, I think we can bring up much more conscious young people and students in the classroom.
And before we get to the classroom as well, because in our homes, that is a great place, don't you think, to begin the conversation on purpose?
Absolutely. That's the starting point. In our home.
In our homes.
Yes.
In fact, one of the reason again why we're having this conversation today about purpose, and one of the more important driver of this initiative is I've been receiving calls from so many friends, and each time I receive a call, I'm hearing, oh, my son, my daughter they're off the rail. They're always changing directions. They're moving from here to there and all over the place. You know how we do things. I'm sure you've lived that life. I have, and they're talking and about so many different things. And it made me start to think, and I'm saying, maybe if there was a deliberate attempt made to help them understand the concept of purpose and intentionally living on their purpose, maybe we could eliminate some of that uncertainty about where they're heading. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I believe that, first of all, in some instances, I believe there's a deficit because there's a deficit with the child because there may be a deficit with the parent. I think the deliberate effort of talking about purpose, starting with the parent, making sure that the parent understands the impact of purpose in their lives and the importance of purpose in the lives of their children. I think that would be very worthwhile. But I think we should be mindful that in asking the parent to talk to their child about purpose, I think the element of making sure that the parent is aware of the purpose and how purpose applies to their life personally would be very helpful in getting them to start the conversation and spread it through the youth.
So we must avoid a generational perpetuation of what is not necessarily the appropriate approach to pursuing purpose. Is that what you're suggesting?
Exactly. Because I think ultimately in discussing purpose, we have to go back to the source. I think ultimately when we discover our purpose, it goes beyond just something that pops in our head or comes to mind that, yeah, that's the purpose that I think I want to do. I think our purpose has been designed and laid out for our life when we first come to this earth. And I believe it is our job and our responsibility to seek that purpose. And here it goes right back to prayer. The way you find that purpose is you find it through prayer. You seek and you shall find.
So is it the case then that for a person who's not discovering their purpose, who's not pursuing their purpose, why is it so? Is it that they're not paying attention? They're not, what is it? Considering what you just said about we're born with that purpose, it's prescribed. Why is it then that some individuals tend not to knowingly realize their purpose?
Well, I think it started as a lack of knowledge. You know, they feel that, well, I don't have that as a top priority because I think if I want to delve into purpose, you know, it'll come. But I think that's an error in their thinking. I think it would be better if we could get the parent to know that in order for me to know my purpose, I really need to seek my purpose. I don't need to leave it to chance. I need to seek my purpose, and once I understand my purpose, I live in my purpose, and once I start living in my purpose, then I can spread that to my children and others. Because not only do they hear me say it, they see me living it. So I think that's probably a more effective approach.
So intentionality is very important.
Exactly.
Very important.
That's what I believe.
And those two, you know, purpose and intentionality, they're married, aren't they?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So I think the intentionality enhances our use and indulging in our purpose.
Mm-hmm.
If we intentionally want to live our purpose and deliver the services of our purpose to others, I think we should do it intentionally. And I think we will be more effective and efficient at it.
I agree. You know, knowing what you're pursuing helps you to create a roadmap to get there.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, they say if you have a destination, you need to have a destination to know where you're going. If you get in your car and say, well, I'm going, but you don't have a destination, I don't know whether I'm going to Miami, I don't know whether I'm going to New York. I'm going. I think that's very inefficient. We're just out driving around. But I think once we have the destination of purpose, I think it gives us a definitive target, and we will not wander.
And wandering is not a good place to be.
Yeah, exactly.
So just from our conversation today, I believe it's safe to say that on multiple occasions, you've had your collision with your purpose.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And how does it make you feel that you're living on purpose?
Well, that's the beauty of purpose. Not only does purpose deliver benefits to the people that you deliver services to, it delivers benefits to you. The example that we spoke about earlier, where I worked with my mom for 9 years, and it gave her great joy every time she saw me coming, her eyes light up. Not only did her eyes light up, my eyes lit up. So it brought just as much joy to me to be able to be there with her as it did for her to have me there with her. So it goes both ways.
Both ways.
Yes.
Your purpose, because it's about caregiving, it's about humanity, it's about taking care of others, will undoubtedly always be of benefit to society, to individuals, to families, to everyone. So I think it's commendable that you have taken on this journey, purpose, and that you have achieved your collision with purpose. You know, we're pretty much getting ready to wrap up, but what would you like our audience to take away from the conversation that we're having today? What is that one or two thing that you would say, this will make a difference?
I believe if we are not intentional in discovering our purpose, I think if we tweak that to make sure that we are intentional in seeking our purpose, I think that would make a big difference. So we intentionally seek it, and we know that if we are persistent in seeking it, we will find it. And when we find it, we follow through and do God's will. I believe that would help to bring a little piece of heaven right here on earth.
So to intentionally seek, find, and act on it.
Exactly.
Wow. Seek, find, and act. Well, Mr. Hines, I want to thank you for joining me today on the Collision with Purpose project. Your insights will undoubtedly add immense value to this consequential topic of purpose. I look forward to having you back in this program. And I understand that purpose, because it's such a fleeting, moving target, there will be reasons for us to talk again and to have you back. So I want to extend an open invitation for you to come back in this program. Do you accept?
I do, and I thank you very much for the opportunity of sharing thoughts with you at this time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir, and I truly appreciate having you here. So, folks, this brings us to the end of this edition of the A Collision with Purpose project Under the Spotlight. If you're like most of us and would like to develop a better understanding of your purpose, then please submit a short video speaking on the topic of purpose to acollisionwithpurpose@gmail.com. And if you would like to take and dig deeper into the topic of purpose and would like to participate in an interview just like this one, then submit your request for an interview to acollisionwithpurpose@gmail.com. Please note that all interviews and short videos will be updated on our social media platforms. That is it for now. Blessings always.